Uh, Today's word is gray, and today's color is gray, and I'm going to discuss gray with you because I recently published ads, real estate ads. The house I grew up in is being offered for sale again, and someone came in and improved it greatly, and they're flipping it, and absolutely deserve every dime they're getting. And I was so sure that when I saw it, that it was going to be like, oh God, they have raped my mom and daddy's house, but they did not. They very, very, they very thoughtfully came in and they updated all the things that needed to be updated. And then they replaced things that needed to be replaced with exactly what was there before, the way my mother planned it. My mother's footprint is still... That house was built in 1919, and of all the people who lived there, I guarantee you, my parents were the people who altered the state of the original structure more than anyone else. But they weren't dumb decisions. They were utilitarian. The house needed to be bigger. They raised the roof to add 3 bedrooms to turn like an unfinished attic into a nice, massive place for us kids to have bedroom areas, because it was super modern up there. It came off. They didn't try to do it, but the way it came off is like, ooh, this is cosmic and modern up here. Everybody loved it. Everybody's like, I like your house, but I want to go upstairs. I've heard everything about upstairs there. People still talk about it. And then we go upstairs. It was like the coolest thing. The Beams had actually added a second living space to their home. And it wasn't done as beautifully as it should have been, because you couldn't find anybody but a big architect in Louisville or an engineer or somebody who could do anything like that really correctly. So the roof line is odd because we had to lift it on one side to make sure that we had enough space for bedrooms. Anyway, my mom had made some physical corrections on the house, and they were right to do. There were some partitions added that needed to be there, and anyway, there's not one room in that house that she didn't alter in some way for the better, and the house is still in her footprint, and it makes me happy, and it makes me think, I don't want to see. Somebody will buy it, and they'll put in that dreadful fake gray, light gray wood vinyl floors that they'll glue down to the original wood floors. But I won't have to see it, because I've seen it now, and I keep those pictures, and I can go into them. And because the whole house is gray, I no longer see things that were mistakes or things that I don't. Every memory rushes through my head, because all I'm seeing is the light, the shadows, the angles of the place I grew up. And in my memory, for some reason, my earliest childhood memories in that house, they're all gray. Everything's gray. It wasn't a big... It had rooms where light just poured in, but I think it mostly is a big old shadowy kind of house with real high ceilings, and that's always been very peaceful to me. So, I mean, I think really when we moved, everything was kind of like a green, like a drab green, and that was okay. But I see that in my head as gray, and it didn't bother me at all. Now I'm going to tell you about the psychology of color. There are snooty colors, and there are non-snooty colors. Now, the most non-snooty color, this has been proven by scholars and scientists, is orange. It is the color that is found most welcoming and least offensive to even the lowest common denominator of people. And I'm sorry to say that, but it happens, and it is a situation. It's a color that basically even just the poorest little old dumbasses with no taste are like, yeah, orange, it's good. Anyway, I'm sorry. I like people who don't have good taste. I like them, because if there weren't any bad taste out there, there wouldn't be good taste compared to, would there? And it's all, y'all might think that my taste is just repulsive, but you know what? I've made a whole lot of money showing my taste and what I can do with my taste to other people. So, I really want to talk about the color gray. That's what I want to talk about, because people were offended that the house had been painted gray and gray stuff had been put down. So, in the psychology of colors... Okay, wait, let's just do this real quick. Okay, so I tell you, orange is the least offensive to the lowest common denominator. Blue is the very favorite color of most human beings, but in people's homes, you don't really see as many blue rooms as you would think, because blue is a color that people hold very kind of sacred to them. And so, here, I'll explain it like this. I asked a client in Scottsdale, Arizona, I said, well, okay, let's start from scratch. What is your very favorite color? And he said, oh, blue. And I said, well, there you go. And he said, but I would never do a room blue. It's because blue is, I don't think it's because, oh, a blue room. No, I think it's because it's kind of a personal choice that people want to keep to themselves privately, and it's a clothing color that people don't necessarily want to see in their house. That's great when it's there, but it's not a real big popular, it's like every color, there's been a trend and a time when it was the color everything had to be. But presently, it's not really like that. And so we have landed again in a gray period. Now, we were in a gray period in the 80s, and it was a beautiful, delightful, and very snooty period for gray, because you were going to see gray in homes that had marble. You were going to see gray in the most beautiful Art Deco, frighteningly expensive French wallpapers. Gray and pink, like pale gray and pearl pink together. In 1988, one of my dearest friends, who's an interior designer in Kentucky, and hanging out with her, I actually developed more of a taste for quality. And I did, because I was just all about an artist, and like, oh, that looks good, it's red. And she was like, she kind of introduced me to things like quality and texture, things like that. She just had more of that going on. She still knows how to do that. But anyway, she designed the cutest little shoe boutique in the Chevy Chase Plaza in 1988 for our friend Jeannie, and it was called Imelda's. And that just flew right over most people's heads. It was 1988, folks. It was named after Imelda Marcos, because remember when they went in and thought, she's got 30,000 pairs of beautiful shoes, but still people would go, this is the cutest little shop. Now, why is it named Esmeralda's? It's not named Esmeralda's, darling. Anyway, Sherry designed this store, and the walls were upholstered in a pale pink moire, upholstery white moire. Water, that's the watermark, like watered silk, but Bengaline was cotton. It's not acetate or anything. I think it was cotton, but it was shiny and very expensive looking, very elegant. So the walls were in that, and unadorned with pictures or anything, because they all had, she knew about marketing, she knew about visual merchandising stuff, so you'd have those strips that shelves could fit into, like in between each strip of, it was great. So it was very simple because it was small, but it had gray carpet, and then it had the palest gray moire seats that were, they were like divans. They didn't have backs or arms on them. They almost looked like coffins, but they were so pretty. And they were pale gray moire, and then she had the same pink moire sheared onto miles of rope. And then she hired me, actually. I went in and applied those around the gray divans, if you will. And it was just a charming little space. And it's funny, because my friend who owned that shop, who hired my friend Sherry to design that shop, she brought it up recently. She said, I was just thinking the other bit how sweet Imelda's was. It was just the cutest. It was adorable. It was adorable. It was like you were being in a little jewel box. And it was not overdone. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't floofy. It was just elegant. So, anyway, that's gray for you. And then, HGTV said paint your houses gray because they eliminate all thoughts of what went on before, and they kind of neutralize it. And if you're trying to sell it to someone, if you do all this gray in there, they'll walk in and they won't see the gray. They'll just see their imagination in the space, and that's why they do it. But a lot of people said, I think that gray looks good. HGTV said gray, and I'm gonna do gray. But there are things that look great gray and things that don't look great gray. Now here's the thing about gray. If you have a statue of a gorgeous statue and it's gray, it's the most glorious thing you ever saw in your life. But if you have an old cheese box, like a Velveeta cheese box, and you just paint that gray and you expect it to look good on its own just because it's gray, It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Okay, just out of the blue. A lot of the old TV sets, the TV, I don't mean the television sets, but I mean the sets for TV shows in the 1950s, like I Love Lucy. The sets were mostly gray because it was so easy to come in and mess with it, and it looked good with everything in the black and white. Now there were some colors, like there was a dull salmon in there, a little bit of a dull green and stuff in the upholstery and stuff, because I've seen them, because they've got them over at Universal or somewhere. I don't know. But everything in the background, the doors, the woodwork, everything was a shade of gray. So it could all just be switched, changed, whatever. Gray has always kind of been the color of rest, mausoleums, sunless days. But see, those things aren't ugly, and they're not negative. They're really sweet. So, here's the thing. You're gonna take a little house that is. This is not against poor people, by the way. I haven't got shit, and look at my house. I've never been able to get a lot of money together. There have been times when I had more, but right now it's kind of hand to mouth here at my house, if you believe it or not, because I'm semi-retired. But look at it. So I'm not going against the poor. What I'm going against is get out and experiment with people. Have some taste. Look at something besides what they've got for sale at Home Depot. Because here's the thing. Once it hits Home Depot, it is the lowest common denominator. They're not selling anything chic or chic or fancy or high end at Home Depot or Lowe's. And they're great places to go. Go there. Get your tools there. Get your raw materials there. Do not go there to choose things for your new home. Don't go there to choose new lighting. Don't go there to choose new bathroom fixtures. You know, I'm talking about if you want a house that is... Yes, choose them there. I buy lots of things at Home Depot and Lowe's. But don't let them be your catalog from which to choose. That's what I'm saying. Have another thing in mind. And then go to Home Depot and see if you can find that exact thing, if positive. If you stick to that, you don't have to do it every time, but if you stick to that, let me, in my mind, figure out what is perfect first, and then go look for it, instead of going out to some tacky store to see what all's popular and saying, oh, I'm going to get some of them barn doors, like get them sliding barn doors, I'm going to put them in the hallway. Okay, so the house was built in 1962, and it was a one-story, mid-century, colonial-inspired home of brick, right? A house like that should never have big aluminum columns inside it. It should not have. You gotta stick to what the story the house is telling you. Don't try to turn it into anything else. Look, I've seen a couple of houses in my hometown, and I'm not saying because I love these people. They're nice and they're well-meaning. But here's the thing. Don't buy houses to flip because you have put your own personal stamp on them that has made them look so good. Because somebody's done that with a couple of houses back home that it's not my business. I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they live there. I'm happy they got the money to do it. But there's a couple of houses in my hometown that belong to childhood friends, and they meant a lot to me, and memories and stuff. No, that's not important. What's important is who's today. But the person who bought the first house decided we are going to show them what it's about. When somebody steps into this house, they will never know that it was ever that home, that happy home with all those people in it. Because we are going to add so much gray, fake wood flooring, big artificial aluminum columns. But the best thing of all, we're going to use sliding barn doors everywhere that we possibly can, because that is what's so cool. I mean, when you walk in this house, you're not going to be able to focus on where's the kitchen, where's the bathroom, because you're going to be so wowed by all of the Home Depot and Lowe's shit that we've got going on here in the home. We have coffered a ceiling that is only 7.5 feet high, but we have coffered it and made it look like something out of an Edwardian mansion in a little squatty mid-century house. And then we've added columns. And then just because it's so elegant now, we got to kill the elegance by adding sliding barn doors. And the bathrooms all look like, oh, God, what? The little weird little sink. No, just because they sold the little weird sink that looks like half of a cantaloupe doesn't mean that you have to use the little buy the sink that looks like that. Have some taste, people. Go in there with a little taste. Well, then, you know what? When they finish doing, and I'm going to tell you right now, you know, the house before when my friends were growing up there, maybe it didn't stand out as like a show place, but it was symmetrical, and it was elegant, and it was pretty, and the whole street was a street of charming. Everybody had such house pride on the street, and now it kind of looks like, did that used to be a Long John Silver's, and they're trying to make it look like an Applebee's? What are they doing? And they weren't happy. They had to buy the house across the street and stamp it with shittiness, too. No, I mean, they did a couple things to that house. It was really, basically, they enhanced a side porch that was already there. They screened it in. Everybody should have a screened porch. But everything else they did, besides that porch, horrible. Fake, vinyl, gray floors. I didn't see any sliding barn doors in that one, but it was like, why did you do that? Why would you put a strip of black track lights just 3 feet long up there first off, don't put track lights in that will only direct at a certain area. Just put a goddamn spotlight in if that's what you're going to do. Why do you have to have a track this long if it's got 3 lights on them and they're all directed straight down onto the cabinet top? You shouldn't have gotten track lights. That's not what track lights are about. That's stupid. I know I'm being mean, I'm being a snob, but this is what I do. And you know what? If I were a mechanic and I was saying, you people are putting this damn organic oil in your trucks and you're messing them up, people, go with the synthetic. You wouldn't think a problem. So I'm giving some design tips, not so that your house looks like mine, but so that your house doesn't look like set from Hee Haw. That's what we're going for here. And I've done it again. It's 16 minutes. Anyway, the whole thing about this was that gray is the winner. It's just that you're seeing it used by people who are not winners. That's why you hate the gray. If you walk into an historic mansion, like Nottoway that just died in a fire. Look, I love the architecture of the Old South. It goes along the Mississippi. I do not like the way an entire subculture of human beings was. I don't like that it was built, that people were whipping people to say, make it prettier, make it bigger. No, I don't like that. I hate all that. I love some things that remain about the Old South, but I don't like the Old South thing at all anymore. I really don't even like to see a hoop skirt anymore. It just makes me so sick that it was just all built on something that never really existed like that. And it was all based on a lie. But anyway, here I am. What I'm saying is, not a way. Let's say we're going to walk into an antebellum ballroom, and it is so big, and it has big gas and crystal chandeliers, and it has sets of pier mirrors and overmantel mirrors everywhere, and the floor is probably some kind of glorious parquet and high shine, and the walls are gray, and the trim is white, and it has Carrara marble fireplaces. There's nothing any better. So I'm going to go now because it's 18 minutes in, and this is really long, but I just wanted to tell you, gray is good. It's not the gray that's turning you off. It's the people who have used it inappropriately. Because I see a lot of it next to shiplap. And, honey, if you got shiplap in your house, I feel real sorry for you. I do. I love you. But I feel sorry for you. You look down on me because I'm an old sissy who collects things like my dad said, red rugs and antique furniture. But, honey, no. Go. If you're going to it was better in the 80s when you had all that Williamsburg blue in the ducts. It was actually more tasteful and more fun and more individualistic. So, bye-bye. Have a good day.